Welcome. I'm very, very honored, pleased to officially introduce you. If you saw the other video, it was just Charlie. Officially say it's Charlie Harary. Graduated from Columbia Law, right? Went to one of the biggest firms out there for a couple of years. Went to another big firm out there. Right now at RXR. God, I was reading up $18 billion and something like 73 commercial sites or something like that. Just a big company. This video's goal is to help people make a lot of money. I dedicate each video to somebody who's important to me, and with your permission, I'd like to dedicate this to my dad. Of the many people I know, he's one of the harder working and nicer and most influential person in my life, and somebody I genuinely love and admire, and taught me a lot about making money. Over and above the blood that flows in our vein, you know, we're Persian and we're all about money. How would you describe the main reason you're successful?
That's a difficult question. I hope to continue and I hope to achieve more and more success. I think the success that every one of us has individually is based on a few factors, right? Financial wealth, and I would even say I'd say more professional success is based on a few concepts that are critical. First and foremost is hard work, right? You have to work really hard at whatever you're doing. The idea that some people can just get success pretty quickly is, I don't think, a mantra to live by. I think that's a very dangerous way to see the world. Value. You have to find ways to give value to somebody else at a high level where the value you're delivering is worth more to them than the price they're paying. And this constant focus on what I can do for others is critical, even on the margins, even the small things. Faith, the recognition that you don't make money, you draw money. There's something bigger than you out there, and you don't take money for yourself. Your ability to be charitable and philanthropic is critical, and if you're not giving away a portion of your money regularly, it's very difficult to expect the divine God, whatever, to give you blessing at the highest level, because you're just keeping it for yourself. And the last is that it doesn't ruin you, that it doesn't ruin your character. Money has a wonderful way of destroying people, because it's intoxicating and it's also very shallow. So you don't really need it. It doesn't mean anything, it's just money, right? The zeros in one's bank account very rarely defines them, even if they buy things with it. But once you get some, you want more. So it's very easy for somebody that achieves a certain level of financial success to lose themselves as from a character perspective, to be more arrogant, to be more focused on money and not people. And so if you balance these things, you end up putting yourself in an equilibrium that allows you a long-term level of financial success.
I've personally wanted a lot of money throughout my life. I've always wanted to be very financially independent and rich. And I always felt that I'm being greedy because I wanted that much money. And I learned along the way that it's the way the world's been created, right? If you have 100, you want 200. If you want 200, do you agree with that?
Yeah, well, it's definitely human nature to always want more. Financial independence is, I think, a desire of every human being, right? It's core to who we are. There's a great theory out there called the self-determination theory by two psychologists, by Deci and Ryan, where and I have it in the book, they basically have shown how human beings have certain nutrients that they need psychologically that all of us need. One is mastery, you gotta be good at something. One is connectedness, you gotta connect to others, and one is autonomy. Humans want to be autonomous. No one wants to be told what to do. The greatest way you're being told what to do, pretty much in today's day and age, is financially, right? If you look today, most of the systems that bossed people around are gone. Everyone has rights, but for the fact that you have to make a living. So lots of people are being told what to do because they need to make their money. So financial independence is a really core human need that I think all of us want and should be able to get. But it's important to recognize that once you get past independence, one will never be happy. There's no concept of happiness in financial growth, right? It's because it never ends. You want 100, you get 100, you want 2, 4, 6, 8. So what they have to do is they have to create almost like their own path of what they want to accomplish, and allow the money that they're building to be a partner with their greater life and not life itself.
Now, you mentioned that to be successful, you need to focus on adding value.
Yeah.
Is that your definition of also your marriage, of being a father, of being a Jew?
Absolutely. Yeah. The job. That's why financial success is not antithetical to spiritual growth, right? Your job in life is to add value. It's to add value more than you take value. That's it. You walk into a marriage, add more than you take. You walk into a parenting situation, you walk into a prayer, you walk into whatever you're doing, add more than you take from this world. It's a great sort of everything you do in life, you can always ask the following question: did I add more than I took? If you do that in business, what will end up happening is the people around you will pay you for that. They will pay you money for the value you give them. Now here's the key. A lot of value is coming from your uniqueness. So if, let's say, you're great at, let's make this easy. Let's say you're great at playing guitar, right? And you walk into someone's home to play a mini concert for them, and you just blow them away. Now your uniqueness, right, is not worth the same price as what they'll pay for it, right? Because this is your innate talent. You do this all day. You do it for free. But they don't have the guitar talent. They need to pay for that to make their simcha be nicer, right? So they will pay you money to just do what you're uniquely good at doing. So when you can take what your uniqueness is, or whatever the value is, and bring it to them at a high level, it won't cost you the same price as you're getting paid. Same thing if you're in real estate, or you're a lawyer, or you're doing anything. If you have an expertise in something, that expertise, as you live your life, gets cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, right? Because you do the same thing every day. When somebody else needs it, for them to get to your level of expertise costs more money. So where wealth comes in is the imbalance between how cheap you can provide high value and how expensive it is in the marketplace.
One of my favorite quotes: "Igati v'lo matzati al ta'amin, lo igati v'matzati al ta'amin, igati v'matzati ta'amin." What does that mean, and do you agree with it?
Absolutely. It's one of the most important and most wise statements in Torah. What it means is there is a disconnect between your effort and your results. Our efforts are not a direct cause to our results. It may look like it, but there's a small gap between what we do and what we get. And that's where faith comes in. So, yagati umatzati. Right? Well, yagati v'lo matzati is the first one, right? Which means I worked hard and I didn't get it. If you work hard, you're going to get something. This is how the world is. That's how God created the world. Hard work pays off. He wants you to work. He put Adam into the gan la'avdo u'la'shomro, to work. You sit back and do some kind of quick scheme, yeah, you'll end up failing. You do the hard work, you go work out every day, you'll lose weight. Maybe not as much as the person next to you, but you'll lose weight. If you say, lo yagati, I didn't really work hard, umatzati, and I got it, nah, you didn't really get it. You may have stolen it, you may have borrowed it, or you'll lose it soon. But here's the key to life, and this is the hardest thing for people to understand. Yagati, you worked hard, umatzati, and you found it. You don't find things, you earn. It doesn't say you earned it. It says you found it. You find things you don't earn. You worked hard, but you found it. Ta'amin. That's how life works. And look at life. You work hard, and all of a sudden a door opens up on the left. You didn't see when you started working hard. Because the world doesn't work in a very correlative way. It's not like hard work equals success. A lot of people work really hard and aren't successful. Hard work in the right way opens you up to blessing, an opportunity that you get, which is a distinction from what you earned.
If I can pitch our other video, if you Google Charlie Harary, you should see another video, and we go into how you don't really believe that anything is yours, your wife, your kids, your success. You believe it's all a gift from God.
Yeah.
and I highly recommend if you guys have a minute to go see that. Let's talk a little bit of hard work. Columbia Law School, top whatever, every year in the top of the top. Graduate with, I think you had 2 different honors, not just 1 honor. You go into one of the big 900 member firms, right? Let's talk about what is hard work. You get in at 10 and you leave at 4. What kind of hours?
24/7.
Well, it's 24/7. Let's be specific.
Work is always. You're always working. You're always working. When you're sleeping, you're working. You're working on your body to give it the rest that it needs to work. When you're in your house, you're working. You're working on your marriage and your parenting. When you're in the office, you're working. You're always working. Progress is the greatest feeling in the world. Even when you're relaxing, you're working, right? I'm not a huge fan of when I relax, let's say. I try not to relax for relaxation's sake. I find that to be non-productive. We are in a society that sometimes thinks that the highest level is comfort, right? The goal is retirement, like as if like you work your whole life, and then when you get to be too old to really enjoy it, you should fly to a different part of the country and spend the whole day doing nothing, as if that's the goal of life, to do things you don't like for when you're healthy and strong, and then things that you do like when you can't move as well because you're older. We think the goal of life is TGIF. TGIF are the worst 4 letters put together ever. Like as if my goal is to be happy that it's Friday because I don't like what I do 5/7 of my life, so that I can leave my life. It's craziness. It's not how it works. Now, not everybody has the choice, and I get that. But life is work. Life is hard work. Life is great work. It's an honor to be working. Doesn't mean you have to be stressed all day. Doesn't mean you have to be in pain. You have to be in progress. And when you see yourself in progress, you're always on. So there are times that you're home, and there are times that you're working, and there are times that you're working at home, and there are times that you're on the phone with your family at work. But if you see yourself as having a limited amount of time to be as productive as you can, and you don't worry about results, you just try to do the best effort you can, it's inspiring, because progress is inspiring.
So let's get a little bit more specific. You graduate law school, honors, you're in one of the big firms. You're working how many hours a day back then?
It depends on the day, but it could be, 20, 10, it could be depending on the day, right? You're just working. When you work for a big law firm, they own you, right? Everything you have is ancillary. So, but for your faith and your family, there's nothing else that you can do if they need you. So there are days where you're just working a regular job. I remember once I was playing in a basketball tournament for a charity. I'll never forget this. And I spent 6 months or whatever it was putting together the team, and everyone was going to be there. And on Friday afternoon, it was a Sunday tournament. On Friday afternoon, my partner walked in an hour before I was leaving for Shabbat. He said, "We got a problem. We got an issue that has to get resolved by Monday morning." It wasn't like, maybe you can. And they left. And I called my wife and said, "I'll be home," and before Shabbat, obviously. I never worked on Shabbat. Saturday night, I took a car to the office, and I stayed in the office from Saturday night till Monday morning. And I didn't play in the tournament. Like, no one said congratulations. No one gave me a pat on the back. So you work. There's no concept of yourself when you're working for a big law firm. That's changed a little bit now. I think people are softening up a little bit.
But they don't use the whips anymore dipped in water. They just humbly nudge you.
I think now things have changed, but back when I started, and there are days when you get to go home. But it's not a question of hours, it's a question of focus. When you're working for a big law firm, you charge a lot of money an hour, or they charge you a lot of money an hour, and they know the only way we can justify those fees is when we give incredible service. And incredible service is immediately. You have a problem, you don't want to wait. You get an issue with law, you don't want to wait. You get a deal you want to close, you don't want to wait. So guess what? I've got 1,000 of these kids. One of them will be here until you're done. That's how you lived.
And you did that basically for 4.5, 5 years.
Yeah.
And then did it get easier when you moved over to RXR?
In some ways not. When you move over to the in-house counsel business side, you take more responsibility for the business because you're a part of it. So you're still thinking about it. And depending on, we had major transactions where we were working that level of hours, and other transactions we weren't. But I think in the business world, if you're working for a company like mine, like RXR, it's a great company that's very family focused. The culture is very much family is important, faith is important. So there is a sense of when you're done with your work, go home.
So you're like 20 years past law school right now?
Almost, well, less, maybe like 16.
Take me through your typical day. Do you agree that the day starts the night before? Is that a focus of yours?
Not for mine. My day starts pretty early. I wake up early. I pray. I study. I learn for a chunk of time, quietly. Then I start my day with my family. If I can get them on the bus and be around for like that level of, I make it. If not, I go straight to the office, or I come home and then I go to the office. And then I spend my mornings mostly whatever I got, and every day's different. Like sometimes I'm getting on an airplane. Some days I'm involved in the community. Some days it's just straight business. Some days it's meetings. I don't have a typical day. And I try, if I'm not traveling, to be home early enough for what would be like the back end of homework, early bedtime. So I try, if I'm in town, do homework with my kids and to be there to help with bedtime. That's my goal. And the nights are usually family, prayer, catching up on whatever I missed during the day or whatever communal stuff that I need to catch up on. And then I try to be very specific. I try to go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time. I try to really train my body to get very specific hours so that you can be more efficient in your sleep.
And what time is bed? What time is up?
We try for bed to be at 11 and up at 5.
Now, thank God you're blessed with kids. Thank God you got a great career. Thank God you're thinking Tikkun and Lam, and you have a book out and you do speaking engagements. Does time with your kids happen, or is that something scheduled?
For sure it happens. It happens, well, it's scheduled. Everything's scheduled, right? You unless you've got very little to do, you're not really hanging around. But you schedule it, you know? I know my Sundays, my mornings can be used for studying, for community stuff, but afternoon till the night is family, Little League, family and parents, and so you schedule that. You know, I know, for example, you know, if I'm in town, I schedule being home. Like, I try to be intentional with being home. Being home is not what else I do. It's as important as anything else I'm doing at work. The people that I work with or for, or the clients, they're not more important than my family. So if I schedule an appointment with them, there's no reason why I shouldn't schedule appointments with my family. So it may not go on my calendar, but it's sort of how I build my week. I know I need to be places, and I know I don't need to be places. For example, Shabbat, we very rarely leave. Spend a lot of time with the family. Shabbat saves me every week, but I don't spend time, you know, running around doing a million things, right? Focused, and that's key. The key is time. You want, with God's help, as much time as you can with your kids, especially when they're little, and there's nothing that replaces time.
What about with your wife? Do you schedule with your wife as well?
Yeah, we try to schedule time to be together. We try to go for breakfast if we can, but like we try nights. Nights are very hard because the kids need us. But yeah, you have to schedule. Why is you know, spouses are a little different because my wife is, you know, older than my kids, right? Which is, you know, we're at the same level, so we can always find pockets. So half an hour here, 20 minutes here, driving to a wedding, whatever. But we do a couple things that are very specific. Like when we go to weddings and things like that, we try very hard to go alone, right? When we try to go for breakfast if we can, at least once a week. We try to be very intentional about spending time. Because time, you never have time, you make time. And usually family gets the brunt end of that. And they shouldn't.
You're one of the few people who does not place a high priority of being accessible and replying within seconds. Would that be a true statement?
Absolutely. I am totally inaccessible.
Why?
Because if you're accessible, you're never anywhere. Me and you are talking right now. If I was accessible 24/7, that phone would have rang 5 times, and I would have to interrupt this, and I would never come back to this. When you talk to somebody or when you do something, you delve in, right? For your mind, if you will, delves into it, and you get to deeper levels of connectivity in the thing you're working on and the person you're talking to, and you start to delve. As you get pulled out, you start from scratch again. That's why a lot of people, when they're constantly being misdirected by that computer, they can never do well in school. Because as they start to delve into a subject, as their brain orients around the margins and starts to delve into the nuance, which is where all of greatness happens, they get pulled out for a tweet. And then they come back. Now they come back a little quicker, and you come back again. It's like sleeping. Picture life like sleeping. If every minute you fell into deep sleep, you got pulled out of it, you'd never have deep sleep. So every conversation is the same way. Now if I'm talking to you, why is the person on the phone more important for? Now if it's an emergency, I get it. So I have my phone with me. I don't stick my phone in a microwave, and then I'm constantly holding devices. But why is the person who wants to talk to me about something more important than the person I'm already speaking to? And why is it fair to that person who's giving me their time that they're not? Why is the person who's calling more important than the person I'm speaking with? When did that become fair? So I may miss an opportunity.
You're part of an $18 billion company. You came from high priority emergency law firms. How that what you're saying is so incongruent with what everybody else is doing today.
Unless you're an emergency room doctor in the emergency room, nothing that you do in the business world has a 60-minute window on it. Nothing. Everything's delayed. You don't have to be responding immediately. If you're in the middle of closing, I get it, right? If you're waiting for a deal to close, I get it. There are exceptions to this rule. I'm not saying but for the most part, the biggest deals in the world, the biggest people in the world, they can wait a half an hour. They can wait an hour, right? I don't schedule my days in 8-hour slots. And I have never found, again, maybe I've missed opportunities. But you know what? Fine. I missed opportunities. God gives me money. I'm not worried. If I miss an opportunity because I'm spending time with my wife, I can't think I'm going to lose. And if I lose, I don't care. Like, I got her. I got the kids. I got you. I can't believe that by doing what's right, you lose. That to me is the most clearest direction of life. You can't lose by doing right. You may lose money by doing right, but you don't lose your life. And life is more important than money. And being in front of somebody and giving them the proper level of respect is more important than just being distracted. I've never in my career, ever, had a situation where something was so critical. Maybe it happened that I picked up the phone and there are times where I say to people, hey, listen, if you need me, do this. I do that all the time. I tell my wife all the time. I'm going here. I'm doing this. I'm not picking up the phone. If you need me, do this. Right? And they do, if they need me. So I do this with people a lot. If you need me, call me back in this way. Dial 3 times, send me a text, say cool. But outside that, why do I have to be accessible for? The people that are important aren't accessible. Accessibility is, I'm not an internet. I'm a human being. And I don't have to be accessible. That person's giving me my success. God's giving me my success. I don't got to worry about whether it comes from that or that. Take Shabbat. How many opportunities I could have lost by keeping Shabbat? Who cares? There are times in my career, Friday rolls in, I know that if I can just work through Friday night and Saturday morning, I could have a much better chance of A, B, C, D, or E. I don't care. God runs the world. God's not going to hurt me in the long term of my career because I'm doing what's right. I think that's the way to do it. I think that's at least how I see it.
It's beautiful that a person like you exists in the business world who believes, I've heard rabbis, I've heard people quote unquote not in the business world. I've heard people who don't make a lot of money or are relatively lazy or whatever you want to call them, aloof, say things similar to you. But the fact that you are in the business world and have been in the business world for 17 years in extremely high level, one simply needs to Google you and look at your LinkedIn page. It's refreshing.
Thank you.
And I think the biggest thing that I'm inspired with, and I thank you for it, is that you know the source of money, of success, and of happiness, and you're connected to that, not the next call or what's around the corner or why I'm not supposed to be here, or I'm not supposed to be doing that. Is that the core? It's just simply a focus of what's important?
I hope I can live that way. It's easy to say it, and I think I believe it, and I hope I continue every day to live it more. That's exactly it. Once you know the source, and that source is deeper and has your best interest in mind and is bigger and is not around the corner, you take your hand off the panic button. People panic so quickly. It's not working out, panic. I don't get the call, panic. They didn't call me back immediately, panic. I missed the call, panic. I landed from an airplane, it's 6 hours, panic. Panic means I'm in control of the world. And by the way, you want to hear the saddest part? Is that those people, not only do they live their lives stressed, they get less blessing from God. Because they show God, hey, I run the world. And God goes, really? Okay, let's see how well you do. So they get worse daily life, and they get worse future life.
Is it okay to want to make a lot of money?
I believe so.
Is money the ultimate goal?
No.
What is?
Meaning, difference, impact.
Is money the root of all evil?
No.
What is money then?
Money is just a fungible commodity to purchase things that you want. And you can purchase things that you want that'll increase the self-absorption or that will benefit people. Money is just a commodity of purchase power. That's all it is.
What do you say to somebody who says or believes he doesn't deserve financial abundance?
He doesn't know who he is and what he's made with. Who doesn't deserve financial abundance? You're a piece of God. God built this whole world. Why wouldn't you deserve it for? Now you can do the wrong things. You can use your money incorrectly. It can be taken from you. But your actions may not deserve it. But your existence, why do you deserve more than anybody else? No one in this world's better than anybody else. At the end of the day, we're all just princes of the king. Why is one prince better than another prince? We get very caught up in a world where society says these 5 things are important. And if you have these naturally, then you're important. And everyone else who doesn't isn't. It's all nonsense. It's not true.
So let's talk about a little bit more nonsense. If you're going to be in the major law firm and going to work in the major firm where you got to sell your soul for the first 4 years, don't get married till after. You believe in that?
Not at all.
When'd you get married?
Before law school.
Before Columbia?
Before I got to law school. I got married in June. My first day of 1L was in August.
And of course you waited for kids until the business stabilized a little bit and you had money? When did you have your first kid?
3 years later.
While in law school?
Yeah, I graduated law school with my toddler on my lap.
You love your children, and your son's going to take the same path to go to law school. Would you tell him to hold off on marriage based on your experience?
Never. Hold off on marriage. Marriage is the most important thing in your life. Hold off on your career. You never hold off on the most important things. There's nothing more important than marriage, than family, than connectivity. What's more important than connecting? And you may not get married. That's okay. But hold off on trying to get married? Hold off on trying to do what's right? God may have another plan for you. And that plan may take you and you don't get married your whole life. Okay, that's okay. I'm not talking about what you get. I hope it's very clear in the distinctions that I'm making. I'm not talking about what you get. I'm talking about what you do. Your job in this world is to find meaning. There's no way. And you look at everyone who graduated and the richest guys in the world and you say, by the way, now that nobody that I've ever met, unless they're so self-focused on their money, thinks that the money I make is more meaningful to this world than the family that I have, that the charity that I do, the wisdom that I've learned. You don't wait on the good stuff. You wait on the surface stuff. Is it harder? Yeah. It was like my first year of 1L with my wife, talking as we were brushing our teeth in the morning, taking trains together because we didn't have time. It was a killer. But what am I going to wait for? I'm going to wait to live the most important part of my life for what? To make more money in my pocket? No way. Just work harder.
So unfortunately, many people out there who simply don't value the concept of marriage anymore. Their parents got divorced, all their friends got divorced. Leave me alone. You know what? I'm good. What would you say to them?
I can't judge them, right? Because I don't know them, and I don't know what and they have their own life, and that's everyone has their path. I personally think that the connectivity to another human being is of the most meaningful things that you can do in life. That's my experience. I can't tell somebody else what they should or shouldn't do, but I can say that the effort to try to connect to human beings is the core of what it means to be a soul. Whether that's through marriage, or through friendships, or through charitable work, everyone has their path. And I don't mean to say that if you're, I hope nobody thinks I'm saying it's marriage or nothing. There are a lot of people that are divorced, that are looking for marriage, not finding it, that are not interested, that lead very connected, meaningful lives. And what I am saying is the effort to connect at a deeper level, which in my personal belief system, which does not mean it's yours or anyone else's, is in the effort, in the trying of marriage, is of the most important things you can do in this world.
And children?
Yeah.
Connection to God?
Of course.
Giving charity?
Yeah.
All of those are above work.
All of those are above work.
Is that why you study in the morning before you go to work?
Absolutely. In fact, I won't do work before I study.
This is while you're in a big company and every day is a day and every deadline is a deadline. Yeah. They don't mess around in a $19 billion company.
Yeah, and I can't say that sometimes I've woken up at 5 and answered a quick email, but with God's help, I try not to engage in the work day until I've woken up, prayed, studied, seen my family, and started my day. And can I tell you something? It's usually just fine. People take themselves very seriously. Most of the things we deal with in the business world are not life and death, and they don't really matter in hour-long increments. If I was an ER doctor, it'd be different. If I was an ambulance driver, but if I'm in the business world, most things in the business world in my life don't happen in 60-minute increments. Most things, if you take a deep breath, happen just fine an hour later.
One of my favorite Hebrew quotes is "V'sham ra'inu et haniflim le'anak min haniflim v'niyeh be'enenu kechagavim v'ken hayinu be'enehem." What does that mean, and how does that affect your life?
That's the line that the spies used when they came back to Moshe and said, "We can't go into Eretz Yisrael." Right? They came back and said, "We saw giants and we're going to die." And then they said this line, which was an incredible line. They said, "V'nihi be'einenu kechagavim." We were in our eyes like grasshoppers. V'chein hayu be'einehem. And so we were in theirs, which is incorrect, right? What they should have said is, we were in their eyes like grasshoppers. They were big, we were small, and so that's how we felt. Right? If I make you feel low, you're going to feel low. But what the verse is teaching us brilliantly is, they didn't know what they thought. They themselves felt low. They themselves felt small. And so they just assumed they were small. This, by the way, is one of the greatest problems in business. We set the bar too low. We're not blowing people away. Because we feel small. We feel unworthy. We feel stupid. Because I didn't get an A when I was in 4th grade. I must be stupid. When people that have big expectations for themselves, they do big things. And they blow people away. And they deliver massive value. Now, they don't think it's all them. They connect to something deeper. But a grasshopper, why would I think I'm a grasshopper? Even when you tell me I'm a grasshopper, I just think you're crazy. Because self-perception is everything. Self-absorption is the end of it all. But proper self-perception is the beginning of it all. That's the balance of life. And it's not easy, which is why most people don't get it, but that's the balance of life.
You wrote a book. What's the title?
Unlocking Greatness.
Why?
Because I believe in my core that every human being has the potential to be truly great, and they have to unlock it. And in the book, we do a very specific research-based approach, and we use science and spirituality and practical advice to give somebody a very specific path to becoming the people that they can be.
Why is that important to you?
Because what else is there in the world? Empowering people to be who they can be is where we need to go in life.
Why?
Okay.
Why do you care? You don't know the guy in India or the guy in Iran or the lady in Iraq or whoever is going to end up reading the book. Why do you care if they become great?
Because that's how the world should be moving. That's our job. Our job is to empower people, is to give people the tools to become better, even if we never get the benefit from it. It's not about what I get. It's about what I'm supposed to be doing. And if we have something to share, it's not a question of who what we get back in return. We hope we get good stuff from it. I hope people like it and read it and email me. I love, of course, I want all that good stuff, but that's not why we do it. It's because that's our job. Our job is to do our job. And the response and the results, yagata umatzata, right? Our job is yigia, work. When we get something, it's a mitzvah, it's a gift. The results aren't our business. Our business is effort. And whether it's one person, or I hope a lot more than that, become better from it, we all win. Because that's more godliness, that's more individuality, that's less hate, that's less insecurity, that's less self-absorption. And the world's better. And if the world's better, we'll all better. And whether we feel it individually or don't feel it individually, that's irrelevant. That's only a physical perspective. Spiritually, if every person's a little bit better, we all are elevated in our own selves.
I'm humbled.
For nothing.
I'm grateful.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for coming. I hope it happens again in the future.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me.
Slacha.
Thank you.